Hello again, tankers. Well, today is a plus signs video for crew training, but it's probably not the part 2 that I was expecting to make. I originally made that video, or attempted to make that video. I went through the process of going through my garage and training up a crew with a few of the aspects of crew training that I wanted to talk about next, and that some people were asking me to talk about next, but I absolutely think I forgot to hit the record button, and so that crew is already trained. What we have released today is patch 9.17, and in it, amongst changes to premium tanks, is the new Swedish tank line, and in fact it's a tank line and a TD line, so you get your choices, all of which of course start with a tier 1 that we are given. The tier 1 we get with a 100% crew, and I think that this is along the lines of what I was looking to make for newer players to consider when training up crews and trying to be better at World of Tanks, instead of continually going into higher tier battles and being at a disadvantage. So I think I'd like to make a video about this today. So then, the first part I think about is, where are we starting? What kind of crew do we have? In this, we see that, most importantly, something that's glaring to me is that there is no gunner in the tier 1 tank we are given. There's a radio operator, there's a 4-man crew, but then, okay, so if there's no gunner, where does a gunner become important? And I start looking at the list to see, well, what are the crew makeups of the higher tier tanks? I don't yet know which one I'm going to settle on if I skip over some tanks. Skipping over tanks is fine if you have the if you either want to spend the money on the game, or you want to use your free XP to skip over some. At this moment, as of right now, 1 hour after the patch or a couple hours after the patch, none of us really fully have a grasp as to which tanks and or TDs are good, nor which tanks we may want to skip over instead of forcing ourselves to play and being miserable. Using free XP to skip over a tank is probably another subject entirely, and we'll save that discussion for another day if you guys want me to go over it. Alright, so I took a look at the tank line, and crucially, where are we? What I found is that the tier 2, the tier 3, the tier 8, the tier 9, and the tier 10 all use the same crew, which is a commander, a gunner, and a driver. It just so happens that when Wargaming created the tier 6 premium Swedish tank, it also has a commander, a gunner, and a driver. What that means is that you may already have a trained up crew if you played the rental tank enough. So you may want to look there before you start making your decisions as to how you're going to appropriate your crew. If you do have them, then it's at this point you need to make decisions. Do you want to keep that crew, which was probably most advised, to stay in the tank lines, and then you'll start out training that gunner, that commander, that driver up the lines, retraining them of course for the tier 2 or tier 3 or wherever you choose to start, or are you going to stick with the tier 1 crew and train those? But the purpose of today's video is this basic crew that we're starting out with. Here we have 100% crew. They happen to have plus signs, yes, but they are all at 0% into those plus signs and or perk training. So we have the ability to choose perks and start training them up from ground zero. We have a unique opportunity here, and that is to train into these plus signs enough, as I went into in my original video on plus sign training, that the crew will have enough XP saved in those plus signs that they will then convert over to a higher tier tank with silver and still be 100%. Now, true, camo as a perk is worth a lot, especially at the middle tiers and higher tiers, so that you don't get seen early in the game. However, at tier 1, tier 2, maybe even tier 3, camouflage as a perk isn't generally going to make you or break you, especially if you're running binoculars and playing a passive game where you can spot the enemy because you now have 100% commander in a tier 1 with binoculars before they can spot you. So my suggestion for cheapest chips playing, where you don't spend money to buy gold to do crew training conversions, specifically with this new tier 1 crew that we've been given, is to play tier 1 a good amount, as much as you can stand, to build into these plus signs. Granted, you're not building a gunner because there is no gunner at tier 1, but at least you'll have the ability to switch them over to a higher tier tank only using that 20,000 silver, and if you saved up enough XP into your plus signs to 100% and give you that added bonus so that you're not hurting at whichever tier that you start at next. Most notably, the two crew positions I consider the most important are the commander and the gunner to be at 100%. 100% commander can just see farther. They can see better, they can see farther. Then you add on binocs on top of that, and you've already got a good start to a lower tier or middle tier game. Similarly, the gunner. The gunner at 100%, this game is about doing damage, and if you can't place your shots, or if your gunner's taking an extra long time to aim, that puts you in danger of getting shot. So one last thing before I end this video, because it's already way longer than I intended, is what happens if we want to choose some perks to carry over with us as we go up the tank line. What perks are good, what perks aren't so good? And for this, I want to take a look back at the commander here. The commander is unique in that he is both a commander in this tank and he's the gunner. And this is where you really want to be careful. You don't really want to train any gunner perks on the commander, because it's not going to apply to him as you move up these tanks and now have an actual gunner in the gunner position. So skip those perks or skills and instead choose a perk or skill that's going to apply to the commander and carry over with him as you go up the lines. Now, of course, Sixth Sense is a perk or skill that is very valuable. It allows you to know that you've been seen by an enemy tank or player, but it doesn't really go off until after 3 seconds have passed from the time that you've been seen. Moreover, it doesn't even activate as a skill or perk, meaning that it won't work until that commander is at 100% with the Sixth Sense perk. So for a good while you could be training up that perk, but it's not giving you any advantage to the game whatsoever until you get it to 100%, which could be many games, especially if you're playing at tier 1. So instead, the perk that will carry over from tier 1 to tier 2 to tier 3, even if you aren't really getting the crew to 100% each time and training more into those perks, would be camouflage. So the camo perk will carry over. Likewise, if you really want a perk, the camo would be the perk to choose for all the crew for the tier 1. It will carry over up to tier 2, tier 3, and certainly be used well. If your destination is instead the TD line, the perk that you may want on the driver instead of camo would be clutch braking. Clutch braking is a perk that allows you, if you're sitting in one position, to twist your tank or twist your TD faster. And where that comes into play is, especially with TDs, is the ability to react to a close enemy who's trying to go around you, and you need to twist that tank destroyer as fast as possible because you don't have a turret on any of the non-turreted tank destroyers in the game. Now, don't get me wrong, once you get into the higher tier non-turreted TDs, the perk or skill of choice will be repair and camo and then clutch braking. But right now at these lower tiers, generally the players aren't skilled enough to know to shoot for your tracks to track you so that they can get around you. So clutch braking will help you get your gun in the direction of the enemies faster. Alright, so this concludes what I wanted to go over with the opportunity that we all have by having a 100% crew at tier 1 with this new Swedish line of tanks and TDs. We have opportunities to choose from by either playing at tier 1 for a while and saving up those plus signs or that XP into those perks and skills to use later on, or to choose some initial perks, again playing tier 1, train up those perks, and then carry them over as we go up the lines or as we decide which tank we want to skip to next. Thanks for watching. I hope this helped, especially if you're newer to the game. Keep in mind that I'm newer to making these lengths of videos, and I look forward to getting better. So please, in the comments below, give me any specific questions you have that you think you want me to make a video about for crew training. I'll do my best to make the videos and make them shorter as we go on. If you liked this video and thought it helped you understand the game, please give it a like and pass it along to friends who are playing World of Tanks who you think it may help for this new Swedish tank line or any new line that we get in World of Tanks where we're given 100% crew and a new opportunity. Thank you, and until next time, protect those hit points.